Good evening and welcome to 7 Eyewitness News. I'm Samantha Ratt and thank you very much for joining us tonight. Let's take a look at our top story. 3 murders have been recorded within the last 24 hours, each in separate incidents. The first was of a man identified as Raghunanan of Evelyn Street, Sangre Grande. Police say that Raghunanan was driving a black laser motor car east along Wren Street, Maloney Gardens, when a man standing along the roadway fired shots at him and he died while receiving medical attention to the injuries at the Arima Health Facility. Then later, at around 9 p.m., Mr. Mahabir of Mohammed Trace El Socorro and Mukesh Ramcharita, also from El Socorro, were liming at Radha's bar located at Don Miguel's Road, Barataria, where it is reported that 2 other men approached the bar owner and a confrontation ensued. Mr. Mahabir and his friend reportedly went to assist the bar owner. However, one of the men allegedly took out a gun and fired several shots at both men. They were taken to the Medical Sciences Complex, where Mr. Mahabir was pronounced dead on arrival. The other victim, Mr. Ramcharita, is said to be in a stable condition. And finally, at around 4:45 a.m. this morning, a man identified as Mr. Ulrich was found lying on the floor of his Lodge Road, Claxtonby home by his teenage nephew. It is reported that Mr. Ulrich had stab wounds about his body. He was taken to the Chaguanas Health Facility, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. Investigations are continuing into all of these cases. In some more news now, a 16-year-old boy has been drowned in waters near a picnic site in Siparia. According to reports, Dylan Nalchan, who resided in Siparia, was liming with friends at the picnic site yesterday afternoon when at around 2 p.m. he climbed onto the floodgates and dove into the water. When Dylan failed to resurface, the search was launched. His body was later recovered at around 5:15 p.m. and was pronounced dead at the scene. In some other news now, opposition leader Dr. Keith Rowley was hypocritical in his attack against the Constitution. So says Chairman of the United National Congress, Jack Warner. A release issued today stated that Rowley's call to fix the Constitution is nothing short of a hypocritical move. Warner recalled that when former PNM chairman Dr. Linda Babulal was appointed Senate President at a time when she was a sitting executive member of the PNM, or when Danny Montano, a former PNM minister, was appointed Senate President by the PNM, Rowley made no objections then. However, the opposition leader now questions the appointment of Hamel Smith to the same position. Warner adds that he was also not surprised that the Joint Trade Union Movement, the Joint Consultative Council and the MSJ and other independent organizations have not made any objections to Rowley's statements. The response came following Rowley's comments on Thursday night against Hamel Smith and, by extension, his attack on the office of the president and also the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. Warner further stated that when the PNM did the very thing that the opposition leader now condemns, Rowley mumbled not a word, but conveniently the Constitution is a wagon for him to ride today. While attending the function today was Speaker of the House of Representatives Wade Mark, and took the forum as the means by which to compliment the nation on their support of the various cultural groups. Mark also took the opportunity to commend the Wind Communications Network for their part in taking the culture and broadcasting it to the world. While the Ministry of Education wishes to advise students, parents and teachers of St. Augustine Secondary and Kunapo RC Primary School that classes are scheduled to resume tomorrow. Teachers agreed to return to work on Monday, 22nd October after expressing their satisfaction with efforts made to sanitize the school following yesterday's meeting with ministry officials. Affected areas were sanitized, repainted, varnished and sanded to prevent the mold from returning. Additionally, as a precautionary measure, an air quality test was carried out and samples were taken by courier on October 9, 2012. These samples were sent overseas for evaluation and are continuing to be monitored by the ministry. To stay with us, more news ahead. Welcome back to some more news now. Today marked the official launch of the Diwali celebrations for this year, the 5th time for the event, but this year was the 4th time that the event was held at the temple in the sea. Hosted by Wind Communications' very own Shirvani Sukai, the launch saw a religious ceremony officiated by Pandit Ramachan and was entertained with a number of dances and a variety of bhajans by a number of religious groups. We here at Twin Communications Network would like to remind you, our viewers, that from Sunday, November 4th, live exclusive coverage of the Diwali Nagar will be brought across for your viewing, and it will run until its conclusion on Sunday, November 12th, 2012. In some more news now, one of Bollywood's most influential filmmakers, Yash Chopra, has died at the age of 80 after contracting dengue fever. Chopra died in Mumbai today. He was also suffering from kidney ailments. More from the BBC.
Known as the King of Romance for his many love stories, Yash Chopra was the man behind some of Indian cinema's most successful films. His studios, Yash Raj Productions, helped establish some of Bollywood's biggest names, including Shah Rukh Khan. The Indian Prime Minister led the tributes today, describing him as an icon who entertained many, many generations. Let's talk now to the filmmaker and film critic Pratham D. Gupta, who's in the Indian city of Calcutta, joining us on Skype. Would it be fair to say, Mr. Gupta, that he defined Indian cinema for many generations, and he in effect, I guess, gave the world Bollywood?
Yes, because the term Bollywood has become synonymous with mainstream Indian romances, and there was nobody better than Yash Chopra, who kind of redefined the way we looked at love stories in Indian cinema. He took Indian cinema to Switzerland and other parts of Europe for the first time, and he gave a so-called, glam factor to Indian cinema, which was largely about villages and other kinds of stories, but sleek romances shot abroad, looking beautiful. The man who did it was Yash Chopra.
And if you've been such a driving force behind such a strong art form for so long, I'm assuming here that individual people might react in a very personal, a very individual way.
Yes, entire Bollywood has been mourning ever since this news came, because he's touched lives of actors of at least 3 generations. You know, where you have an Amitabh Bachchan, you have a Shah Rukh Khan, you have younger actors who have acted in his production, maybe not been directed by him. But Yash Raj Films is a huge production house in Bombay, and one of the biggest production houses in the country, if not the world. I think it made it to the top 20 production houses across the world. So Yash Chopra is a huge figure, and he's kind of touched many lives in the industry and outside.
To some sport news now. There might have been only 2 games in the English Premier League on Sunday, but there was plenty of drama and, in fact, remarkable similarities between the 2 games. First up, it was Sunderland against Newcastle, followed by QPR against Everton. And in both games, the opening goal came within the first few minutes, and the equalizer was 1 goal on both visiting sides, reduced to 16 minutes, and both games ending as 1-1 draw. BBC has more.
Junior Hoylett netted for QPR before Julio Cesar scored an own goal. Steven Pienaar was sent off, and further north at the Stadium of Light, the French international Yohan Cabaye scored for Newcastle before Ivorian Cheick Tioté was given a straight red card. Demba Ba then put the ball into his own net, but the Newcastle manager, he was pleased with the resilience shown by his 10 men.
I think we said before the game that how important it was to our fans. We just had a little discussion about that. But we showed how important it was to us today as a group, this game. And we come out all firing, all cylinders. And I think if we'd have had 11 men, I think we would have won. But the sending off changed it, of course. But 60 minutes is a long time in the Premier League to be down to 10 men. And you could see us tiring towards the end. We couldn't quite keep it in that last 8-10 minutes. It was a fantastic effort, and I'm so proud of the players.
We were knocked back, obviously, by the early goal. It gives Newcastle a massive lift, and they were very strong in the initial period of the game. Then they had the players sent off. I suppose in one aspect we felt numerically, we should be able to use that a little bit better. I thought we became rather anxious at that stage, and not threading the right pass through. However, in the second half, I think it was just sheer pressure that eventually brought the equalising goal. The noise that erupted from the stadium when we equalised was something I shan't forget.
And Inter Milan secured their 4th straight victory in Italy's top flight Sunday with a 2-0 win over Catania. and this allowed them to maintain their pursuit of unbeaten Series A leaders Juventus. Boosted by their 1-0 defeat of AC Milan in the City Derby last weekend, Inter were always on top in the San Siro after starman Antonio Cassano headed home in the 20th minute, and Chelsea gave Villas-Boas Spurs the blues. Meanwhile, Chelsea maintained an unbeaten run in the English Premier League with a 4-2 win over London rivals Tottenham Hotspur at White Hart Lane on Saturday. The match, which saw Spurs manager Andre Villas-Boas face his former club for the first time since Chelsea sacked him in March, sparked into life in the 17th when Gary Cahill struck a stunning volley to give the league leaders the lead. And that's how it stayed for the remainder of the first half before Spurs mounted a comeback in a breathless second half. To stay with us, much more ahead. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is 7 Eyewitness News. Police deputies responded today at reports of a shooting near a major shopping mall in suburban Milwaukee. BBC has more.
The latest pictures that we've received here at BBC World News. One of the local TV stations is reporting what it's calling a mass shooting as having taken place near the Brookfield Square Mall. A spokesman for a local hospital says it's received 4 patients from the shooting. None of them are critical. They are expecting 3 more. They're also quoting a woman who answered the phone at the local sheriff's department as telling the Associated Press news agency that deputies are looking for a, quote, active shooter. It's also running big on the American TV channels. They're saying a mass shooting occurred near this shopping mall in Wisconsin. The incident took place near that Brookfield Square Mall in the area of Brookfield. That's according to the AP. A hospital spokeswoman kept telling one of the main American TV channels that 7 people have been shot. That channel saying the shooting may have occurred at a spa, a health spa or a health club. Not quite clear on the details of that aspect of this as of yet. The ABC affiliate in Milwaukee reporting that the shooting is a mass casualty situation, and also one of the local radio stations also saying that the suspect is still at large. And according to that local TV station, WISN, medical and emergency personnel have arrived at the scene. You can see there, you wouldn't know from that aerial shot that anything bad had happened. But just to recap, police deputies responding to those reports of a shooting in that shopping mall in Milwaukee. WISN TV reporting a mass shooting. So we're talking about 4, maybe 5, 6 or 7 people having been injured. No fatalities, but the person with the gun is still at large, we understand.
Meanwhile, several persons have been killed in Syria when a bomb exploded in Damascus. State media said that the car bomb targeted a police station in a Christian neighborhood of the city. And this comes as the international envoy to Syria held talks with President Assad to discuss a temporary ceasefire. We have more in this report.
Syria's conflict routinely hits the nation's capital, even during peace missions. A car bomb exploded near a police station in the Bab Tuma district of Damascus. This is normally a busy shopping area. It's home to some of the country's Christian minority, who make up around 10% of the population. These pictures make it difficult to imagine a stop in fighting. But that's what the international envoy Lakhdar Brahimi has gone to Damascus to try to achieve. The Algerian diplomat met the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. The envoy wants to persuade the government and opposition rebels to hold a truce for 4 days during the Muslim holiday of Eid al-Adha, which begins on Friday.
Leaders of the opposition outside Syria and the leaders of both the armed and peaceful opposition inside Syria, whom we have contacted, declared they would respond positively with this initiative if the Syrian government committed to it. So we hope that this Eid in Syria will be calm, even if it's not meant to be a happy one.
But these scenes in Damascus showed just how hard it will be to organize a truce in time for the start of the religious holiday. Lakhdar Brahimi will know that conditional promises to stop fighting do not quite amount to a formal commitment to a lasting ceasefire. James Reynolds, BBC News.
And further afield, there have been clashes between opposition supporters and armed police officers in Beirut after the funeral of the country's head of intelligence, Wissam al-Hassan. He was killed in a car bomb attack on Friday, which many in Lebanon have blamed on neighboring Syria. Again, we hear from the BBC.
From across this often divided country, thousands came to Beirut's Martyrs Square for an event that was as much a show of defiance as it was a funeral. Giant posters of General Wissam al-Hassan looked down on the crowd. Lebanon's intelligence chief, he paid the ultimate price for daring to implicate neighbouring Syria in a series of attacks and political assassinations on Lebanese soil.
أقول للقضاء لا تتردد فالشعب معك.
I call on the judiciary not to be afraid. The people are with you, and I call on the security forces to be steadfast. You have the support of the people.
Last week's car bombing was the first this city had seen in more than 4 years. Most here are in no doubt Damascus was responsible. Syria's civil war brought to the heart of Beirut. If the targeting of such a senior official was indeed the work of Syria, it shows just how easily and how deeply Syria can still penetrate Lebanese politics and society. And that is what these people are here to protest against.
We're here to show solidarity with the families of the victims, and we are here also to protest because our leaders are being killed one after the other, and we want the government to step back.
We are here all to say no for terrorism, no for killing our best people. We want to live in Lebanon in peace.
But there's anger too with the authorities here. Clashes erupted after the funeral at the nearby government palace. In the face of such provocation from Syria, say protesters, their own government is weak and inactive. Wira Davis, BBC News, Beirut.
And that brings us to the end of tonight's newscast. I'm Samantha Ratton, wishing you a very safe and blessed night and a most productive week ahead on behalf of all of us here at Twin Communications.